The film revolves around cards that possess unimaginable powers and the struggle between organizations for these cards, which have been scattered across 4 nations. The opening scene shows a military ship at sea, with an island in the middle of the ocean. A city built there is in chaos. The wall protecting this city is burning fiercely. Meanwhile, each member of the royal family has been evacuated to safety. Soldiers communicate through a shared device, but suddenly one of them becomes agitated because he still hasn't found the intruder. What's even more serious is that the intruder is carrying heavy equipment and explosives. In the basement, soldiers are pursuing the intruder. This place holds a treasure that everyone desperately wants to possess. A gunfight breaks out, causing several people to fall, but they still haven't hit the intruder. They must continue pursuing to the south of the tower. The lights automatically turn on, forcing the intruder to finally stop in front of a large door. She kneels down and puts down her suitcase, making the pursuers think she intends to surrender. Then she stands up straight with her hands raised. The entire group of soldiers is surprised because she's still young. Just as she finishes speaking, hundreds of bombs on the wall appear and automatically detonate. Black smoke fills a part of the tower, and the pursuing soldiers can only stare in disbelief. Aircraft fly in, firing a barrage of bullets at the soldiers below. At a nearby building, the other group is tensely observing everything happening, while below, a soldier controls 2 machine guns, firing directly at the helicopter hovering in the air. The girl from earlier, standing on the helicopter, suddenly uses the power of her card, and a missile launches, striking the castle directly and destroying everything. 2 soldiers below aim their guns straight at the helicopter above. Before they can pull the trigger, they're distracted by something in the sky. Meanwhile, a subordinate reports that everything is ready, but the man just stands still, not giving any orders. The helicopter's open door allows strong winds to blow in, causing the suitcase in the girl's hand to flip open, releasing several cards. They begin to glow and fly straight up into the sky like stars, illuminating the entire land. That light travels everywhere. This place is the country of Sparta. 1 month later, the lives of the people have returned to normal. Finn is leaning against the railing on the park stairs, sipping a beer while observing everything in his sight. He notices a man standing in front of a coffee stall wearing an expensive watch on his wrist, 2 young men with seemingly valuable phones in their back pockets, and an African boy crying because his dog has run away in the crowded street. Finn quickly acts after taking everything in. He walks to the coffee stall and throws his beer bottle in the recycling bin, distracting both the stall owner and the man in the suit who are arguing. Finn walks past them and conveniently takes out a sausage from his pocket for the dog that has just run up and bitten the man's leg. He apologizes to the man and takes the dog away, playfully letting it run around the 2 young men, and finally brings the dog to the African boy. Somehow, the boy already has a lollipop in his hand. Finn calmly walks away after a successful theft, because in his pocket is the Rolex watch that belonged to the man from earlier. At the orphanage, 2 men are discussing the rent. The landlord wants to build a luxury apartment complex on this land if Lindsay continues to delay the payment. If she wants an extension and to keep the land for the children, she needs to pay up. Finn overhears all of this while standing outside the door. The children here seem to be very fond of Finn and ask him to play with them, but he declines, saying he's busy. Finn recalls the earlier conversation between the 2 men, strengthening his resolve. He goes to a pawn shop with the expensive items he has stolen. As luck would have it, he stole a fake Rolex watch with a squeaky mechanism from the stingy businessman, along with 2 old but expensive brand phones and other items. It seems like a good haul, but when appraised, it's worth nothing. The experienced shop owner can tell these are stolen goods just by glancing at them. He never buys items with unclear origins. Finn stubbornly takes off the shirt he's wearing, wanting to sell it to the owner because it's from the band Poison Phenomenon. He introduces it as a super rare shirt that he bought at a small show. But the owner doesn't buy it either, instead noticing the 2 of spades card in Finn's pocket on the table. The shop owner wants to buy it, but Finn doesn't want to sell. The owner doesn't mind, thinking Finn would never be able to own the real thing, and kicks him out. Mentioning the card reminds Finn of a place, so he hitches a ride to the Bellin Casino, which is his first time there. Inside, it's truly luxurious and magnificent. Finn sits at a table, and after a few hands, he has the most chips at the table. The other players, tired of losing, leave in disappointment. Just as they leave, an old man approaches and introduces himself as Lucky Lunchman, claiming that he'll teach Finn a lesson. Not only does he win, but he wins consistently. and now all the chips on the table are on his side. Finn leaves dejectedly but encounters Lucky again outside. The old man is still playing outside and offers to take Finn as his disciple, but something keeps holding Finn back. Finally, the casino staff invite both of them to a VIP room for champagne. In this gambling establishment, cameras are everywhere, and winning a lot easily attracts attention and can cause no small amount of trouble. Lucky acknowledges Finn as his younger brother and takes him along. In reality, there's no VIP room in the storage area. They were brought here with a purpose. The manager suspects Lucky of cheating and wants to search him, demanding that Lucky hand over the red glove. Indeed, it's his secret weapon. Lucky refuses to give it up easily. He just claps his hands together, causing the security guard who wanted to search him to stumble and fall straight out the open window. The manager, witnessing this, is frightened, but it's fine because he still has another security guard. This guard named Bobby doesn't follow orders. Instead, he takes out a playing card that transforms into his glove. Bobby approaches and squeezes the manager's arm, severing it. Strangely, there's no bloody scene as imagined, just marbles falling all over the floor, leaving both men amazed. Bobby moves forward, wanting to take Lucky's card, but the manager pulls out a gun. Unfortunately, the power of the card is faster than the trigger pull. The manager's head is crushed by Bobby, turning into colorful marbles. Somehow, Bobby knew Lucky's family situation and threatened him with the lives of his 7-year-old child and pregnant wife. Finally, Lucky is forced to hand over his card. As soon as Bobby holds the card, Chris appears, using a gun to threaten and attempt to steal the 10 of diamonds that Bobby took from Lucky. The two fight in an evenly matched battle, but Chris seems slightly stronger. He also possesses a jack of clubs. Lucky tries to escape but slips on the marbles on the floor and falls right into Bobby's gunpoint. He should have survived, but because of his greed in trying to reclaim his card from Bobby, he is crushed by Bobby, who also takes one of the marbles, which is Lucky's remains, to confront Chris. Finn sits there bewildered until Chris reminds him to run, but he also slips and falls into Bobby, conveniently taking the card from his hand. By the time Bobby realizes, Finn has already fled from the hotel with a car he got from a newly arrived guest. Bobby pursues him in his red sports car, right on his tail. It's a thrilling car chase through the streets. Chris also takes a blue car and joins the pursuit. When they reach the middle of a deserted bridge, all three cars collide and explode. The first person to emerge is Finn. Chris also comes out with an injured leg, limping. He wants to reclaim the card that Finn stole earlier. But then his arch nemesis appears and shoots Chris, who falls down immediately. Bobby appears from behind and threatens Finn to hand over the card, promising a quick death if he complies. If he resists, Bobby will show him what hell is like. At this moment, Finn uses his card, which transforms into a revolver. He uses his focus ability to aim accurately at Bobby and gives him a bullet to the chest. When the battle ends, Chris regains consciousness. Not only is he not dead, but he doesn't have any injuries on his body. Both want to keep their cards, so they point guns at each other. Chris approaches and takes the gun from Finn's hand. He urges Finn to pull the trigger, but Finn doesn't have the courage. At this moment, a classic car rushes in, shooting out green vines that wrap around Finn. Then he is tied up and taken to Chris's headquarters. All members are present. Bernard makes Finn a cup of tea, while Vinji carefully unties him. But Finn doesn't drink right away, instead looking around at everyone present. Finn is extremely surprised when Bernard calls him by his correct name. Even more surprising is that they not only know his name, but also his habits, preferences, and even the moles and birthmarks on his body, including those of his parents. At this point, Chris walks in with Finn's 2 of spades. Finn gets excited and wants to take it back, but is met with a gun to his mouth. Just then, a phone rings. Bernard answers it and receives orders from his superior. Afterward, he goes out to tell Finn about the mission and their identities. The cards all possess special powers, and only those chosen by the cards can use their power. They are called the special card players. A card player can only use the power of one card. Bernard opens a map on the TV to show Finn the countries where cards are appearing. There are currently 4 countries: Spada, Login, Scythium, and Pelastic. What's concerning is that there are players abusing the power of the cards, causing chaos within their countries. Therefore, King Julius Foreign has ordered them to secretly collect all the cards. The reason Bernard told Finn everything is that he will hire Finn to work here. Afterward, Bernard takes Finn to a Pinnock branch, a place that manufactures classic cars for high-end customers. Bernard gives him a tour around. This place operates as a sales department of the company, with each member having different positions. At this moment, Finn's hands can't stay still, and he accidentally picks up a magazine from the table. As soon as he puts it down, the magazine retracts, revealing a cabinet. Inside are weapons, giving him a fright. Bernard explains that they are authorized to use measures outside the law to retrieve the cards. They receive orders directly from the king, so they always prioritize resolving issues by the most peaceful means possible. But Finn still hasn't made a decision because Bernard should at least give him a reason. He explains that the person Finn shot yesterday was a member of the notorious Klondike Gang, which is also the organization with the widest connections and the largest scale in the country. Importantly, their target is the cards, so they can easily trace Finn. If Finn wants to protect his card and earn a lot of money, he can only work here. Initially, he hesitates, but when Bernard mentions the salary, his eyes light up and he agrees immediately. Bernard smiles kindly and explains to Finn the basic rules of the organization before giving him back his card. His job position, to deceive the public, is a trainee salesman. Afterward, he entrusts the newcomer to Chris for training. Since the first rule of the job is to act elegantly, Chris takes Finn to get a suit tailored. After the shop owner finishes designing, the two go for dessert, but Finn has to settle for dog food. In reality, Chris is dining with a beautiful woman and saying sweet words, leaving Finn to sit alone drinking water. A tattooed man across the room is bullying a waiter for accidentally spilling cake on him. Despite the waiter's sincere apologies, the tattooed man still doesn't let it go. Finn is about to intervene as the tattooed man raises his fist, but Chris appears, blocks the punch, and pins the tattooed man to the table, making him beg for mercy. The waiter enthusiastically thanks Finn, but he refuses the credit, saying it was thanks to Chris. When he turns around, Chris is already embracing the beautiful woman. Afterward, Finn returns to the orphanage to tell Lindsay about his new job, the high salary, and of course, that he'll save this orphanage. Then he goes back to his old, shabby house to sleep until the next day. Before dawn, the sound of a car horn blares outside, forcing Finn to wake up early. Downstairs, Chris is waiting with the company's signature classic car. As soon as Finn gets in, he sees a woman's necklace. He guesses that the promiscuous Chris has done something in the car, and you all know what that is. Chris speeds through the busy streets to chase their target. In his first mission, a trainee like Finn should just watch and learn. But he doesn't want to be redundant, so he uses his card. The man sitting on the target vehicle suddenly jumps onto the hood of Chris's car. He is the waiter they met yesterday. None's body is like iron, and no bullets can penetrate him. The damage is almost zero. Police cars are also pursuing Robert, but don't intervene in the fight between the two sides. According to Captain Young, only strange people can deal with people like this. In this confrontation, Finn stubbornly uses his gun despite knowing it won't cause any damage. Unfortunately, the strongest nemesis on this earth is not those with iron bodies like him, but those with power and an unmatched mind. Chris takes advantage of the moment when Robert climbs onto the hood of the car and reaches into the window to choke him, driving the car straight into the river, because he's already figured out Robert's weakness. Indeed, after going underwater, Robert's card is neutralized because the water pressure at the bottom of the lake prevents Chris from opening the car door. Above, Finn also sees the car. He aims precisely at the window and shoots so Chris can break the door and swim up. Finn jumps down to pull Robert out and hands him over to the police. Robert is a street thug who luckily picked up a card with power. He has a large debt, so he was manipulated into becoming a robber. This makes Finn reflect on the repeated saying from Bernard and Lindsay, "Our choices determine who we are." When entering the room, Finn meets Chris again. The good news is that Chris praises Finn's superior shooting skills. The bad news is that the two of spades is the card with the weakest skill among them. Bernard receives a call from his superior, instructing that if Finn doesn't perform well, they should fire him immediately. But Bernard believes Finn will be a positive factor for the team. This red-haired woman also possesses a card with fire power. She and two others are standing before a burning flame in the night, praying as if to a religion. Finn goes to the store where he had ordered a yellow suit and puts it on right away. Here, he accidentally encounters a kidnapping. Without thinking much, Finn immediately grabs a nearby motorcycle and chases after the car. In the car, the Carter brothers are threatening Leo, who doesn't even seem to care. The kidnappers are more nervous than their victim. They want Leo to call his wealthy father to get $10 million as ransom, but they didn't expect that Leo doesn't even have his father's phone number. At this moment, they sense that something isn't quite right. Looking back, they see Finn chasing after them on his motorcycle. He plays his card, which transforms into a gun, and shoots at the car's tires, causing it to crash into an emergency fire hydrant, spraying water everywhere like rain. The two men in the car stick their heads out, while Finn takes Leo's hand and leads him into a nearby store. Leo doesn't appreciate Finn's rude behavior because he acted too hastily. What's more, he caused damage to the city. Just as he finishes speaking, the Carter brothers burst in, demanding Leo pay $10 million. No longer a kidnapping, they consider it compensation. Their family's small factory suffered losses when Leo's father's company proposed a project but cancelled it without prior notice. Leo sees this as normal because isn't it the law of nature that big fish eat small fish? He doesn't want to get involved with the grudges of the poor, showing contempt until the very end. Initially, Finn has some sympathy and doesn't want to get physical, but the brothers prefer to communicate with their fists, so all three get into a chaotic fight. Later, the police arrive and take everyone to the station for questioning, including charges of kidnapping and property damage. Even at the police station, Leo continues to pontificate about his principles. Someone like Finn, who prefers a vagrant lifestyle, doesn't understand and doesn't want to understand. He thinks Leo is dictatorial and that living like this will earn him no respect from either the old or the young. Somehow, this comment extends to Leo's father. At this point, Leo stands up and walks out, with the police at the door not even stopping him. Finn sneaks out to follow Leo. The female inspector wants to stop them, but Police Chief Young remains calm, telling her that if she doesn't want to see tomorrow's sun, she should arrest them. Meanwhile, the Carter brothers are temporarily detained and don't have such privileges. It doesn't matter, because the leader of the cult team, Nick, appears and rescues them by burning down the police station. On the other side, Leo and Finn are still walking together when suddenly Finn disappears. Later, he returns with 2 hot dogs in hand. He treats Leo to this meal as an apology for what happened at the police station earlier. So the two sit on the stairs and eat together. There's nothing special about it, but in the world of rich people like Leo, this is something new. Finn talks about his childhood, but Leo sees it as just an attempt to gain sympathy and forgiveness for his mistakes. Finn's childhood was also unstable, but everything became a blank when he had an accident and lost his memory. Even memories of his family are gone. What remains with him is the orphanage that sheltered him until he grew up. After eating, the two head home, with Finn suggesting they take the subway. Leo finds this very novel. In fact, he has never traveled by this means before. A child accidentally runs by and spills ice cream on Finn's newly bought suit. While Finn angrily scolds the child, Leo calmly sits down and treats the child gently. This side of him surprises Finn. When they reach the station, they encounter Nick and the Carter brothers. She uses the power of her card to set the train on fire, causing people to run in panic. The purpose remains unchanged, they still want compensation. The fire grows even larger when Nick hears Leo say that his father is ready to eliminate any threat, including his own son. Initially, Leo doesn't want to compromise, but seeing Finn struggling to breathe due to the large fire, he agrees to go with them. The two are taken to an abandoned factory, where they watch the 3 people pray with their crazy beliefs. At this point, they remember Finn's presence, but no one knows who he is. The 2 men start guessing randomly that he doesn't look like a student from a school for the wealthy. They also say Finn looks somewhat cowardly. Human endurance has its limits, so Finn takes out his card to deal with them, transforming it into a gun and aiming directly at the red-haired boss, repeatedly pulling the trigger. But her fire is stronger and completely burns his bullets. She then continuously shoots fire at Finn, making it difficult for him to dodge. Just when the situation becomes critical, Chris arrives by car. He follows Leo's orders and brings 1 million yen in cash. As soon as the Carter brothers see the money, their eyes light up. This is also when Leo reveals his final move. He too possesses a card and is a member of the group. He kicks the suitcase of money into the air like fireworks and transforms it into a cannon. Indeed, when the rich gain power, they must impress others. With just 1 shot, he knocks Nick out cold. They take the opportunity to confiscate her card. As Leo walks out, the fire pillar collapses. Fortunately, Finn runs to save him just in time. They all return to the company, where Bernard reveals Leo's identity. Beyond his extremely wealthy background, he is also the manager of the Old Maid Street branch of Pinocchio Car. The most surprised is Finn because he just joined and treated Leo equally, while this kid is actually his boss. As a result, both Finn and Chris get a lesson from Leo. Wendy's childhood was spent growing up in the arms of her father, a renowned samurai. Because of this, she was exposed to swordsmanship from a young age. She was taught many things by him, especially about the Big Ace card. Each time she draws her sword, a different personality of hers appears. The alarm clock brings Wendy back to reality in her messy room. She hurriedly changes clothes and goes to work, not forgetting to bring her card. On the way to the company, she encounters several issues but still arrives late. She focuses on her work, completely unaware that Finn has stolen a customer from Chris. By the time work ends, it's already dark, so they all head to a beer pub, but only Wendy sits at a separate table. She's heartbroken and drinks one glass after another. The three colleagues sit sipping beer and snacks, chatting about the day's work. The pub owner is acquainted with them. To welcome the newcomer, Finn, the owner treats everyone to beer today. It's already late, but only Chris hasn't arrived, as he's known for being late in the group. The group is listening to Leo reminding Finn of the group's rules when Chris arrives, not forgetting to remind Finn of rule number 1. Never let Wendy draw her sword. She, sitting at the next table, firmly asserts that she will never draw her sword again. Seeing Wendy in a bad mood today, drinking beer like water, they all make excuses to leave, leaving only Finn and Chris behind. They're stuck with this burden. On the way back, they listen to Wendy talk about various aspects of her life. She remembers her father and his teachings. When she wakes up, it's already the next morning. Learning from yesterday, she goes to work 30 minutes early, and the traffic is much more convenient. Just as she sits down, the clock strikes 9. Meanwhile, everyone is busy with work. Finn is test driving a car with yesterday's customer, while Bernard receives a call from the chairman. They are informed that a bank robbery is taking place in the city. Chris hasn't arrived at the company yet. VJ is also busy because soon he will be supporting Chris. Only Wendy remains in the office, ready to receive support orders from them. On the other side, Chris is talking to the bank robbers. He has called Wendy, who hears the entire conversation. The robbers are all armed, and to help people escape, he has used his body to shield them from bullets. Chris reports the situation to Wendy and VJ. Initially, only VJ was going, but Wendy didn't want to stay behind and insisted on going, so the two went together. While running to an intersection with a green light with the customer who was test driving, Finn notices Chris driving, chasing after the robbers ahead. Realizing Chris is on a mission, Finn pretends to have a stomachache and needs to go to the bathroom, then quickly follows. Each person drives a car to capture the bank robbers who are fleeing with hostages. A classic chase scene appears on the streets. Just when the robbers think they've escaped, VJ uses his power to make vines grow from tree trunks, blocking their path. At this moment, Wendy's car also catches up. She uses her sword skillfully but doesn't draw it from its sheath, only using the sheathed sword to wound several robbers, while VJ rescues the hostages. Surprisingly, the robbers aren't the card holders, it's the hostage. He stabs VJ and introduces himself as John, the holder of the 4 of hearts. Many duplicates grow from his body. No matter how many Wendy defeats, they keep coming. He continuously replicates, reminding her of her father's warning. Backed into a corner, Wendy decides to draw her sword and cuts down all the duplicates in front of her. VJ thinks she has controlled her power, but she hasn't. She has appeared as a second personality of Wendy. This is when the real problem emerges. VJ takes this opportunity to send an urgent message to Chris. Now, no matter how many duplicates there are, Love B handles them all. She even intends to cut down the original, but fortunately, VJ stops her. Her crazy personality wants to cut anyone who comes into her sight. She's always in combat mode with the entire world. The enemy is fine, but if she encounters allies, chaos ensues. Somehow, Leo also hears that Wendy has drawn her sword. He immediately flies a helicopter there and drops the central bank's largest safe to contain her. No one thinks Love B will escape, but what you don't expect often happens. Love B cuts through the safe and even jumps up to cut Leo's helicopter. Fortunately, the pilot and Leo manage to jump out. VJ quickly throws a net to save the two. Love B lands in the same spot and is about to raise her sword to satisfy her hand when Chris appears. She redirects and turns to cut him because she knows Chris is a tamesajiri, something used by samurai for practice cutting. However, Chris is a bit different because he can heal himself even if stabbed through. He doesn't die, although he still feels pain. Love B knows this, so whenever she appears, she uses Chris for cutting. Someone as crazy as her must enjoy the feeling. But Love Bee doesn't know that the team has a new member, Finn. His card may not seem stronger than others, but his aiming skill is supreme. He fires 3 shots that don't harm Wendy's body, but knock the sword from Love Bee's hand. He knows that only when she doesn't have the sword will everything return to normal. Wendy remembers her father once hoped she wouldn't follow a path like his, a path where only loneliness accompanies you. But she wanted to become the person he wished for and believed she would truly succeed. Wendy rubs her teary eyes. The first person she sees is Finn, and the warm person is truly Finn. He advises her with his optimistic mind, giving Wendy many different perspectives. After speaking, he bids her goodbye and leaves. The mission ends in the evening, but his customer is still waiting at the intersection. The noise from yesterday's bank robbery quickly reached the ears of Police Officer Sugar. A new recruit at the police department was assigned to investigate this mission. The staff provided information about the man who came yesterday, Chris. People often see him in a red suit, flirting with girls. Indeed, good news travels fast. Sugar quickly went to the police station to report to Yang, but no one cared and advised her not to get involved. She intended to search for information about cases related to these people on the computer, but all of them had already been deleted. Sugar couldn't understand why cases were overlooked when Pinnaclor employees were involved. This made her even more certain that there must be a hidden story behind it. With her curious and especially stubborn personality, Sugar ignored her colleague's advice and was determined to investigate thoroughly. Denzone had been arrested in the most recent case. Captain Yang assigned this interrogation to Sugar. The man was fidgeting nervously, afraid he might die at any moment. He promised Sugar he would reveal everything about his clan if she could guarantee his safety. Sugar confidently promised John that she would ensure he could survive and issued a witness protection order to her colleagues. But John himself, being a member of the clan, knew he couldn't survive. So how could an outsider like Sugar be sure he could stay alive? Meanwhile, Captain Yang was in his car, talking on the phone. He wanted to know what had happened a month ago in Falland. But would the chairman ever reveal it? The man only reminded the old police chief to know his limits, then hung up. Afterward, Yang and his subordinate, Sugar, went to observe the situation at the Pinchclo company. She reported all the daily activities of the employees there. After following them for some time, Yang attended Ban's party and accidentally encountered Bobby. This was the same Bobby who had confronted Finn and Chris. He wasn't dead and was now working as a guard outside the party for his boss. Yang teased him, saying that being defeated by an amateur was utterly humiliating. Bobby was about to lunge at him for a fight, but was stopped by a colleague next to him. The thought that some nobody could have wounded him was enough to make him furious. The party inside was incredibly luxurious. Every guest looked very elegant and classy. They were all people at the top of the food chain, from financial tycoons to musicians. An experienced person like Yang could tell at a glance that they were related to the military industry. After letting the guests dine for a while, the main character appeared, looking no different from a real mafia boss. Meanwhile, Finn had just finished work and returned home when he saw a dark figure run by. He immediately drew his gun and gave chase, only to encounter Sugar, who presented her police ID card, so he was handcuffed and taken to the car. At this moment, at the party, the surrounding lights went out, leaving only the spotlight on the stage where Ban stood. He stood there, pontificating about all sorts of principles in life. Although there were some impolite words, here, whoever had more assets had the right to speak. Ban was certainly the leader here. He introduced Mr. Morris, a minister of justice, and even commented on his bald head. Although it was just a joking act, it was well received by the guests. Everyone laughed happily. While the speech was still going on, his subordinate came up and whispered something in his ear. Later, a man was brought up by 2 of Ban's bodyguards, his head covered. When the cover was removed, it was John. Somehow, he had captured John from the detention center and made the police's immunity badge ineffective against his power. John's crime was losing his card to someone else. Back to Finn, who was handcuffed by Sugar and taken to the police car. After driving for quite a distance, they hit a school bus, causing their car to flip over in the middle of the deserted road. It was already midnight. Fortunately, it didn't explode, and there were no casualties. The school bus flew over them. Luckily, both managed to escape just in time before the bus fell on their heads. But John was out of luck. Ban broke his neck, not quickly but slowly. Breaking bones this way is more painful than doing it decisively at once. Finn and Sugar had barely recovered from the burning car when another disaster approached. A strange woman came up and called Finn the little puppy from Pinocchio. He had already used his card to threaten her, almost pulling the trigger, but he couldn't make her stop. She even controlled nearby objects to block bullets for herself. She might also possess the power of a card, as she used telekinesis to choke Sugar, then controlled Finn's hand holding the gun toward the police officer like a puppet show. The bullet flew out when Finn pulled the trigger under the woman's control. At Ban's party, the atmosphere was extremely tense. The guests were witnessing John being slowly broken bone by bone before their eyes. His neck had already been twisted to the limit that a human body could endure. Blood sprayed out like a fountain. While Ban remained calm in the face of this horrific scene, the guests were pale and speechless. Perhaps this was one of the ways he consolidated his absolute power. The result of the earlier shooting was that no one was killed. Indeed, kindness is to be treasured, but the kindness of the weak is very foolish. For example, Sugar, a rookie officer at the police department, dreaming of finding justice and willing to confront a major case involving many forces behind it. This time, Finn's bullet might not have hit, but she can't escape forever. This was just a warning. The woman herself said that if it had been her with a gun to her head, Sugar would already be meeting the king of hell. After the party ended, Yang stood outside waiting for Ban, intending to ask about the attack at the Champler Palace a month ago. It was because of that event that more people possessed cards with special powers, causing no small amount of trouble. Old Ban just claimed he knew nothing. Although Yang pleaded with all his might, he still said no, and also advised him not to believe in Theo's words. "Don't doubt, lest you be surprised," he said, then left without looking back. Sugar regained consciousness after receiving a lesson she would never forget. But for someone as stubborn as her, it's uncertain if this lesson would stick. It was truly a waste of time with someone like Sugar. She confided to Finn that she had been curious from a young age, and furthermore, she couldn't ignore what was happening before her eyes. It made her lose sleep, and curiosity was ingrained in her blood. So there was no way Sugar would be content to stop the investigation here. Finn had wasted his breath trying to advise her, but if she wouldn't listen, so be it. He handcuffed her to the burnt car, instructing her to cool her head first, then left. The next morning, Sugar drove Yang to observe the situation at the Pinocchio Company. They parked outside for a while, then returned to headquarters. She told him about herself as a child, how curious she was when she once noticed a spelling mistake in a newspaper and sent a letter to the editorial office. In the end, she was rewarded with a pencil. Now that she's grown up, she's about to be rewarded with candy. But it's copper candy, a euphemism for bullets. Yang told her about John. The person she was once in charge of investigating his body had been found by the river this morning. Sugar heard this and broke out in a cold sweat. At John's team's meeting place, everyone was present, but no one mourned his departure. Many years ago, specifically when Champler was still divided into 4 regions, demon soldiers came from the sea to conquer the island. Appearing with them was a wizard and a boy who made a proclamation to the people. This boy was the king of Champler, and if they wanted to save the island, they had to choose 13 knights from the 4 regions to stand by him. Thus, an army of 52 knights was formed from the 4 regions to save the island. The wizard also gave each of the 52 knights a card from a deck of 52 to show their loyalty to the boy. The knights pledged their blood and began to fight to regain freedom for the country. Despite much bloodshed, they couldn't succeed. They turned to using the wizard's cards. All were given to the boy. The battle continued, and they won, unifying the 4 regions, and he became the first king forn. That's what was recorded in the book found by archaeologists. Today, the items being brought out are all from this kingdom, and especially the card is also being brought to an auction on the ship Queen Black Lady. In some room, Norman, the CEO of Who, is giving an interview with an impossibly ridiculous demeanor. Finn is about to lose it because he's suffering from severe seasickness. Everyone discusses the people around this Norman, especially Briss and Brandy. These 2 also possess cards. Their mission today is to fool everyone to steal the card being auctioned. Later, Leo approaches and tells Finn that this isn't anything wrong. They are not thieves. They are just confiscating cards from outside to return them to the royal family. And this is completely legal. Leo looks at Finn with his pale face. Holding a bucket to vomit, his condition seems quite severe with seasickness. At this point, Leo thinks they need to change the plan, but Finn still wants to participate. Leo immediately refuses this mission, demanding they be careful every step of the way. One mistake could lead to disaster. In the worst case, they could be charged with criminal offenses. They can't let Finn's vomit affect the whole team. Chris stands up to vouch for Finn, promising that he can do it. Although Leo opposes, he has to give in to Chris's determination. So they begin to act according to the plan. While the auction is taking place on the stage, behind the scenes, they are executing their plot to steal the item. Finn, with his skilled craftsmanship, disguises himself as a backstage employee to approach the supervisor and steal the key from him. Just one seemingly accidental encounter allows him to easily take what he wants. Afterward, he goes outside, makes a mess, and conveniently throws the key to VJ, who is disguised as a waiter. He puts the key in a glass of water and gives it to Wendy, who is pretending to be a guest on the yacht. She jumps down to the lower floor, deliberately, accidentally bumping into a security guard on the ship, dropping the key outside. She also asks him to come to her room to clean up and change quickly. Chris is already there to take the key, while VJ is working in the kitchen using the power of the green card. Through the pipes, he secretly takes the security card from the pocket of the man Wendy bumped into earlier. They use devices to exchange information with each other. VJ still needs more time and asks Wendy to help him buy time. The security guard has just finished bathing and changing clothes, and she takes out wine to invite him to drink together. Initially, he intended to refuse, but how could he resist the charm of a beautiful woman? Thanks to this, VJ manages to get the security card. Meanwhile, Chris has reached the room where the card is kept. He stands still with his hands raised for a while, waiting for VJ to deliver the card through the pipe. After getting the card, he goes to another room. Chris has carefully disabled the camera before acting. At the auction, VJ, disguised as a waiter, brings water to Leo, actually reporting the progress of the mission. Hearing that the results are not as expected, Leo fidgets, reluctantly having to sit still in one place. Chris hasn't switched the card yet when Briss appears, using electricity to shock him, paralyzing his entire body. 1 million volts would normally turn someone into charred pork, but the immortal Chris is different. Leo's communication device is also damaged by electricity, causing him to panic even more. He calls Wendy, but she's already drunk with the security guard in the room. Finn is still okay, just suffering from severe seasickness. He still manages to drag himself over to Chris to check on the auction situation. Norman has kicked the auctioneer out and gone up to the stage himself. Leo, who is usually calm, can't sit still any longer and starts bidding against him. The battle between Briss now includes Finn, but because of his severe seasickness, he is restrained by Briss and becomes a hostage to threaten Chris. Chris pretends to surrender and kicks the cabinet containing the real card away. Finn desperately chases after it and accidentally pushes the cabinet onto the main stage in the middle of the auction. Finn falls on top of Leo, preventing him from shouting a price to compete for the card, and even though Norman wins the auction, it's useless. The woman who threatened Sugar earlier has stolen the card. She uses a helicopter to fly in, then uses her power to control the cabinet to fly up, successfully obtaining the card. This mission was a failure. The next day, the media reported on the auction. The high card group chats happily about this. Everyone made mistakes, so no one could blame anyone. The most pitiful person in this story is Norman. He lost both money and the item, and he's angry because no news article mentioned him, even though he bid several times more than others. Norman demands his assistant find him an exclusive interview and requests that the newspapers report in detail about him. But Briss has already taken leave to take his child to school. Norman is determined to defeat Leo next time, so he's very happy and no longer thinks about the past. Chelsea is a hot girl live streaming and chatting with people on her way home. Suddenly, a voice speaks up. Chris is standing there, using his old-fashioned flirting techniques. But Chelsea finds it very funny and says she's not interested in playboys. As she turns to leave, Finn walks up, accidentally touching her waist, which startles her, and she sprays pepper spray into his eyes. Seeing that the two seem close to each other, Chelsea uses her love card as a bonus to bind their hands together, so neither of them can leave the other. They go to a beer pub and tell VJ not to mention this to Wendy and Leo, or they'll be laughed at. The pub owner, seeing the close bond between them, even gives them an ice cream. Chris is angry because he has a date this weekend, so he's determined to find that girl to neutralize this power. Viego helps them find information about the girl. After finishing the ice cream, they eagerly run to find Chelsea. She's at the swimming pool with her friends, attending a party. The two quickly appear. What now? Chelsea still doesn't want to neutralize this power. Chris thinks of cutting off his arm. After all, he's immortal and can heal his wounds, but this still can't separate them. The only way is to find Chelsea. The three meet everywhere to the point where she misunderstands their stalkers, but she knows exactly what they want from her. As a result, they've been running around the city for 3 days without eating or sleeping. They didn't expect Chelsea to have such an energetic lifestyle. The two sit down to rest in the park. Here, they accidentally meet Apple, a customer of the company that Finn serves. He sees them holding hands and misunderstands it as a gay relationship. Before they can explain, Chris pulls Finn away to continue looking for Chelsea. But there's no way she would easily neutralize the power of the card. Chris still refuses to give up, wanting to separate from Finn at all costs. Finn is very tired and doesn't want to keep running like this. Finally, the two go to Finn's house. They eat canned food quickly and then go to bed. Finn encounters nightmares. For many years, he has often dreamed of a knight wielding a sword in front of him. Around him is a sea of fire. Chris can't sleep either because the pillow feels strange. Doctors once said it was psychological trauma or possibly due to an accident. Chris checks his messages. He knows he can't avoid this, so he can only message Finn not to reveal his date tomorrow to anyone, even in the high card group. Finn agrees. He doesn't think too much about it, guessing it's just an ordinary date. The next morning, the two go to the meeting point to meet the girl from before. Finn doesn't see anything unusual until Chris greets the girl. Her name is Missen, and she's his sister, not a date at all. Chris introduces Finn to Missen as his colleague. After greetings, the three of them walk around the city together. Finn learns a lot about Chris from Missen. They go into various shops. Chris wholeheartedly dotes on his sister, making her feel like a princess. They shop together and then eat ice cream at a roadside stall. The three chat about various things. Missen wonders what her brother is like at work, making Chris signal to Finn. He cooperates, saying all kinds of good things about Chris at work, such as how he is kind and warm, always making colleagues trust him, the typical good person. Missen is so happy she jumps up. Then the three go to a bakery for sweets. While Missen is in the bathroom, the two stay and talk. Chris confides that he has never told his sister about the high card group, so she has never known what her brother does for work. Unfortunately, they run into Chelsea again at the bakery, who mocks Chris for playing his role well. From a playboy chasing girls like a hunter after prey, he's now playing the role of a good brother. When Missen returns, they greet each other. Finn introduces Chelsea as their friend, and although reluctant, she cooperates with the two. After eating, they walk around for a while, with Chelsea trying every way to show Missen her brother's true face. She starts saying all sorts of things to expose him. But Chris calmly tells his sister that she's just looking for her destiny, and says that Finn is the person she likes. Finally, Chelsea is distracted as Missen pulls her away to play. They are still playing on the beach when Chelsea realizes she's been tricked. But for now, she puts that aside. She happily plays with Missen, taking pictures together and posting them on Instagram. By the evening, Missen still wants to ride the Ferris wheel. Chris, known for loving his sister, still doesn't agree. Finn also tries to dissuade her. Missen hasn't run far when she falls to the ground, her mouth bleeding profusely. Chris panics and tells Chelsea to neutralize the power of the card immediately. He carries Missen and rushes to the hospital. Since childhood, Missen has had to fight with illness. Chris only has Missen as his only family, so he always loves and spoils her as much as possible. Finn and Chelsea also run to the hospital. Seeing that Chris can't calm down, Chelsea uses her card to bind his hand with hers. It's not until late at night that she neutralizes the power of the card when Chris has calmed down. The doctor informs him about Missen's serious condition. With this illness, no hospital would have discharged her. It's certain she had sneaked out. Chris only hears good things about himself from his sister. Even he didn't expect this. In the hospital room, Missen talks with Finn and Chelsea. The siblings, like Finn, are orphans. But Missen is luckier because she has a brother who loves her unconditionally. Chris enters the room, says a few words to his sister, and then the three of them go outside. Chris always pretends he's okay, but Chelsea can see he's lying. This area is only for seriously ill patients. The truth is that Chris isn't okay at all. After talking for a while, Chelsea promises him that she will return her card until she no longer needs to find her destiny. That persistent nightmare continues to haunt Finn's mind. Knights in armor and a large fire engulfing everything around him when he was still a boy. Finn tries to escape from the burning castle engulfed in flames. A knight in armor pursues him, raising his sword, and then Finn wakes up, having fallen asleep on the bus. He took leave from Pinocchio to go to the place where he grew up. A regular customer, Apple, comes to the store, but doesn't see Finn to ask about what he saw that day, the day when Finn and Chris were holding hands in the park. Apple wants to ask, but only Chris comes out to serve him. For some unknown reason, Apple is extremely prejudiced against Chris and always treats him very rudely, only liking Finn to serve him. Apple asks Chris about the two of them that day. Of course, he can't tell the truth to anyone. Chris says they just have a senior-junior relationship. As soon as he finishes speaking, Apple runs straight out, saying he extremely dislikes Chris being at Finn's place. The bus also stops in front of the orphanage. Finn thoughtfully brings a bouquet of flowers. As soon as he enters the gate, he sees a group of children playing outside. There are some new faces he hasn't seen before. The situation is quite tense, so Lindsay has to go out to stop the kids. The boy Sam takes his book, which Finn picked up earlier, and runs away. He stands outside witnessing everything before going in to greet Lindsay. The two talk for a while about Sam, and then Finn suddenly remembers that today is Lindsay's birthday and gives him the bouquet. At Ban's place, there's also someone absent from the party, Bobby, the guy who was beaten to death by Finn at the casino. After that incident, Ban had lost faith in Bobby. His disappearance made Ban think that Bobby had failed at something again. Although it's called a party, it's just him eating by himself and rambling, while the others haven't even touched their utensils, just sitting there listening to him drone on about a bunch of principles, saying they are a family. Although he has become a mafia godfather with power in his hands, Ban is still not satisfied. He wants to go even further, far enough to take the name of the organization. They named themselves after a country, but dreams are just dreams. Finn hears about Sam, a boy who was recently brought here because his parents are gone. He brings a flower to give to the boy. The boy just lies there reading a book, not caring about what Finn is saying, and even when he responds, it's very perfunctory. At the age of 7, Finn lost all memories of his family and was brought to the orphanage. What he could know was from Lindsay, who said that Finn's family had burned down and there was no one left. The only thing that followed him from childhood to adulthood was that 2 of spades. Lindsay had also carefully instructed that no matter what happened, he should not lose this card, and until now, that card still accompanies him. Finn remembers each warm act of Lindsay. He had loved Finn like his own brother, teaching Finn many things, making him feel that his unfortunate life had begun to have color. Finn sees this place as family, and the boy Sam is now the same, initially feeling very strange, seemingly unable to accept this situation, but later will see it as family. Lindsay is the father, and all the kids consider each other as siblings, and although Sam is focused on reading his book, he's still listening to Finn. The boy, of course, can't yet accept these words from him, only denying that his parents are gone, meaning he no longer has a family, and there are no siblings here either. Only when Finn shows Sam under the bed, where the boy has a secret compartment for his things, does it spark his interest. By evening, everyone in the orphanage gathers to celebrate Lindsay's birthday. Gifts are piled high on the table. Finn appears last, giving Lindsay a new apron after a year of wearing the old one. His eyes are filled with sadness as he looks at the apron in Finn's hand. This is money that Finn earned himself. The two go to the kitchen to take the roasted chicken out of the oven. Taking this opportunity, Lindsay also has a few words he wants to say to him. Finn even shows off the balance in his bank account. He promises Lindsay that he will buy this place and make the lives of the children here better. Seeing that Finn hasn't been at his job long, but already has a considerable sum of money, makes Lindsay very suspicious that he has risked his life doing dangerous things in exchange. He also doesn't want to use the money that Finn got by putting himself in danger. The two go outside, and Lindsay holds the cake in his hand, listening to the children he has taken care of sing happy birthday. Finn doesn't seem to be happy after the conversation in the kitchen. Before everyone finishes singing, a dangerous character arrives uninvited. Bobby, the grudge-bearing guy, has found his way here. Lindsay thinks he's a colleague of Finn and goes over to exchange a few greetings. Bobby activates his card right away. Lindsay still wants to shake hands with him. At this moment, anything Bobby touches will turn into marbles. Fortunately, Lindsay withdraws his hand in time. Finn quickly activates his card. The battle takes place right here. Lindsay evacuates the children when things are still under control. Bobby also doesn't seem to want to harm the kids. He only targets Finn and shoots marbles at him. Indeed, Bobby came here because he wanted to settle the score from that day at the casino. He holds a grudge against Finn for damaging his image in the eyes of his boss, Ban, making him no longer as respected as before. He had to live during a time when he was scorned by everyone around him. For someone as arrogant as Bobby, life during this period wasn't easy at all. It was extremely humiliating. The wound Finn inflicted on his shoulder that day still aches. Confident that his card will defeat the 2 of spades, the weakest card in the food chain that Finn possesses. This time, Bobby is smart, using a psychological tactic by burning down the orphanage, and whether intentionally or unintentionally, he touches the childhood wound of Finn. Finn quickly runs outside to find Sam when the boy goes to the room to get that book. Finn gives the boy a handkerchief to cover his nose and get out of here. Bobby also pursues them fiercely. By now, the fire is growing larger, making it difficult to escape. They can only go up to the roof. Shortly after, Bobby is also present below. The kids have prepared a cloth for the 2 to jump down safely, but Finn doesn't come down. He encourages Sam to trust his family and jump, while he stays to fight to the end with this guy. He carries the ideal that Lindsay once taught him. One of them is that the weak, when cornered, will fight with their lives. Now he's implementing that teaching on Bobby. Even though he possesses the weakest card among the rest, Finn fights with all his advantages. Down here, Lindsay has called the police or ambulance or something. Finn isn't immortal like Chris. He doesn't have the ability to regenerate wounds on his body. So each battle is a life and death situation. You can see that Finn's will is not to be underestimated. The number of attacks on Bobby has been quite significant compared to what a holder of the 2 of spades could do. The surprising thing is that he has a total of 3 cards, many times stronger than Finn. It's no longer about winning or losing. It's about the boundary between life and death. Bobby can't burn even when kicked into the fire, and bullets pierce his arm, but he can also heal himself. At this point, Bobby's face ID is no longer recognizable. His entire body is black like coal, with his face unclear. Looking at him now reminds Finn of the nightmare of the night in the fire that he dreams about every night. Of course, this is completely within Bobby's calculation. While Finn collapses due to the nightmare invading his rationality, unable to counter Bobby, a miracle appears. Something shoots at him, completely disintegrating his body in the sea of fire. Far away in the city, a mysterious man fired that missile to save Finn. The entire city is in chaos due to a bombing attack targeting the 3 princes of this country, occurring right in the heart of the capital. Currently, the tense situation hasn't subsided. Fire trucks and ambulances have been dispatched to the scene urgently. 4 members of High Card are also present immediately. Although the terrorist attack isn't related to their mission, since it involves card holders, it still falls within the organization's scope. Meanwhile, 2 bodyguards are escorting Prince Danny into a car. The black-haired woman from Ban's organization gets into the car with the prince. Before he can react, all 3 people in the car are sent to meet their maker. Chris runs for a while and spots 2 suspicious individuals. Alex uses his card to make rocks grow from the ground, then completely disappears. Although Chris isn't injured, he loses track of them. News of the terrorist attack quickly spreads everywhere. The media reports the latest news about the incident. Prince Danny, who was to be crowned in 3 months, has died that day, and the masterminds haven't been found yet. Everything is still very chaotic as the prince's body is brought back to the palace beside the king. At this moment, the king turns and leaves, instructing Theodore not to let the cards be exposed to the public. As soon as the king leaves, Ban appears. The 2 exchange heated words for a long time. Then Theodore goes out to tell his subordinates to summon the High Card urgently. Chris has just left the hospital after visiting his sister when he receives a call from Pinnaclor. Bernard assigns him the task of summoning all members of High Card, including Finn. For the past 2 weeks, Bernard hasn't been able to call him anymore. He knows it's because of what happened at Sunfield that quickly depressed his spirits. Chris receives the order that everyone in High Card must be present at Pinnaclor. Only Finn is absent. Theodore has assigned the mission to immediately recover any cards being used. The current situation is extremely urgent. Bernard allocates them to carry out according to the plan. As usual, Chris will go with Finn, but this time it seems more difficult because Finn has just experienced psychological trauma. Bernard still has faith that Chris can lift Finn's spirits because the 2 are close friends. Upon receiving the mission, Chris goes to Sunfield, which has become a pile of ruins after the event that day. He continues to Finn's residence. After days of locking himself inside, Finn is still not better. He eats canned food to survive, with dark circles under his eyes like a panda. It seems he hasn't slept for days. Finn gets out of bed, washes his face cursorily, then collapses on the floor. Remembering when he first entered the orphanage, remembering Lindsay and his teachings, he would be happier if Finn didn't go to Sunfield anymore. At this moment, Chris arrives. He stands outside knocking on the door. Of course, in his current state, Finn would never open the door to visitors. Chris can only sit outside talking with Finn, informing him that the team is carrying out a mission. But Finn doesn't want to participate anymore. His purpose was money, but now that the house is gone, what use is money? Chris stays to say a few words, which gives Finn a different perspective, and he stops blaming himself. After speaking, Chris quickly heads to the last train of the day. Finn opens the door but doesn't see anyone, only a chocolate candy that Chris left behind. Finn runs for a while and catches up with Chris, who is about to board the train. The two are in the compartment. While Chris is having a meal, Finn reads the profiles of people who possess the cards. Although he has decided to come here, Finn is still troubled by Lindsay's words. Chris says that adults are very complex, and at some stage when Finn is mature enough in life, he will naturally understand the meaning in Lindsay's words. After a while, the train stops at the station. As soon as the doors open, they encounter Jasper. He possesses a card that controls metal, something seemingly harmless to Chris because he's immortal. Jasper's teammates have ambushed ahead of the train. Just a little further, when they reach the bridge, they'll send everyone to eternity. But Chris remains calm about this. Originally, the passengers on this train are not related to him, and even when Jasper threatens to kill Finn, Chris shows no concern. Finn, of course, doesn't believe this is true, but he is still very confused. This calm demeanor of Chris successfully transfers his fear to Jasper. Moreover, if he wants to destroy this train as a threat, wouldn't it affect himself as well? Jasper listens to Chris and realizes that he's in a dangerous situation. He has unknowingly become a sacrificial lamb, but Jasper still doesn't want to give up. When they reach the bridge section, he uses his power to blow off the roof of the train compartment. Alex above also uses his card to make rocks and earth from the hill fall down, blocking the train's path. At this moment, Chris kicks Finn into the sea just as he activates his card. Jasper can't talk big anymore. He pleads with Chris in this dangerous situation. Chris throws him into the sea, but the lucky Jasper manages to cling to the side of the train. He panics and quickly acts to extend the railroad track further up the rock slope, successfully stopping the train safely. Chris intends to deal with Alex, but is restrained by Jasper's chains. Meanwhile, Finn has drifted to shore, unconscious. A passing woman happens to see him lying there. The next day, Finn wakes up in a room and sees a strange woman. She says she rescued him from the beach that day. Finn remains silent, but the familiar face makes him remember Aya, someone on the list of those whose cards need to be retrieved, with identical characteristics unmistakable. He worries about his card, but with his current physical state, even moving and talking become difficult. An experienced person like Aya knows at a glance that Finn is from High Card. On the other side, everyone has learned about the two of them, and this mission still lacks one more card to be completed. Looking at the train incident, Bernard guesses that the two must have encountered other card holders. Still unable to contact Finn's group makes everyone certain they're in danger. VJ and Wendy really want to go rescue the two, but according to Theodore's orders, it's not allowed. Leo is their commander, but he still has to respect the rules set by the chairman, so the other two must fend for themselves. Finn has also recovered, at least enough to talk. He wants to know what happened on the train yesterday. The TV is broadcasting news about the incident that day. Currently, the cause is still being investigated. Finn remembers Chris and wants to find him. But with his current physical state, Finn still can't get out of bed, let alone rescue someone. As for Chris, he has been captured by Jasper and Alex. They tied him up high and used all sorts of punishments, wanting to find his card. But searching thoroughly, they find nothing, which makes Jasper even more frantic. Perhaps because there's no card nearby. The wounds on Chris's body now can't heal. This means he feels pain like normal. If a bullet were to shatter his skull now, he would likely die. Chris remains calm and doesn't reveal a single word about the whereabouts of the card, despite Jasper hitting him with an iron bar, while Alex searches for Finn's whereabouts. Because he wants to gain credit with the boss. Even if it's the most useless card in the food chain, he still has to take it by any means necessary. Finn's place is much more peaceful because he luckily met a good person and had his wounds treated promptly, and Aya cooks food to nourish him for quick recovery. Finn himself feels she's treating him too well, making him momentarily disbelieving. For no reason, Aya simply says she's sick of seeing corpses in front of her. Finn refuses to eat and spends all day sitting dazed on the bed. Aya knows he wants to go rescue Chris, and these two seemingly unrelated people have an unexpected connection. Seeing Finn's curiosity, Aya opens up and tells him her story. This story goes back 25 years to when she was still a girl dedicating her youth to high card. This fighting made her feel like a real hero, and heroes must face villains. This brought her no small amount of danger as the battles continued. Until Aya heard that her teammate had sacrificed himself. Theodore directly participated in the battle, and he showed no emotion witnessing this. Things continued afterward, but deep down, Aya still carried this weight. She couldn't concentrate and became curious about where she was working. Then something happened. Terrorists bombed a shopping mall, and among the victims was a boy, the son of Taylor, also a high card member. That boy was Chris. He was in a critical condition. Any delay could affect his life. Taylor currently held 4 cards. If he used them, he could save Chris. But Theodore, who was present, didn't allow it. According to the king's orders, they couldn't use the power of the cards for personal matters. Despite Taylor's pleas, he couldn't change Theodore's rules, and he ordered Aya to confiscate Taylor's cards. Nevertheless, he didn't give up. With no other option, Theodore drew his gun and pointed it at Chris. Aya didn't obey him. She restrained Theodore, supporting Taylor in time to use the 4 cards to save Chris. But he had to pay with his own life. After that time, Aya also resigned. She wandered all over the country, finally settling in a peaceful place with green trees and blue water. She accidentally met Robbie, and the two enjoyed their old age together until this moment. After a few days of recovery, Finn finally got better. Although there are still some lingering effects, they're negligible. He prepares to set out to rescue Chris. Aya voluntarily gives her card to him, but first, she wants to ask if he were in a situation like when she saved Chris, what would he choose? Finn ponders and then determinedly answers that he would try his best. Aya chuckles at the answer and gives him her card. As they step out of the house, they encounter Alex, who has found his way here. Finn throws the card to Aya to fight together. With the power to attract nearby objects according to her will, she has a spectacular battle with Alex. Finn, observing from outside, can't help but exclaim, "Awesome." When he steps in, Alex uses the power of rocks, growing several boulders around to block the way. This time, even with wings, it would be difficult to fly outside. Meanwhile, Aya is still fighting Alex. She is trapped and falls into a pit. Robbie stands up to protect her when Alex is running past. At this moment, a car arrives. Chris gets out of the car and kicks Alex into the pit. Finn takes the opportunity to shoot him in the thigh. Seizing this chance, Aya moves a windmill to crush Alex, killing him on the spot. Finn turns to ask about the wounds on Chris's body, but he doesn't answer. Before coming here, he had beaten Jasper to a pulp. He contemplates a few things, looking at the card in his hand without using it, seeming very different from usual today. Finn happily runs to him, but he shows no emotion. If it were normal, he would have already started teasing. What seemed like a happy reunion unexpectedly turns into Finn receiving a bullet straight to the left chest from Chris. Chris mumbles some apology, saying he doesn't want Finn to know about his situation. Aya, witnessing this, doesn't have time to react before seeing Finn fall into a pool of blood, while Chris coldly turns and walks away without looking back. After the incident at Aya's place, Chris drives through the night, returning to the city. After today, his mood becomes much more somber than usual. It's largely due to his inner thoughts still dwelling on the events of the past, which continue to haunt him endlessly. Even the cars passing by on the road remind him of his small family and his father from before. Looking back a few years ago, the family of 3 went to an amusement park together. In his memories, Taylor was a very cheerful person who loved children. Even Misen, born with a weak body, was much healthier when he was around than she is now. Although the mother of the 2 siblings died early, the 3 of them were still happy together because they had a wonderful father who loved them. But Taylor was still a man. Without the presence of a woman in the house, he had to cook by himself. Of course, he was somewhat clumsy, and the bread always smelled burnt. The 3 of them often played cards together, and that was when Chris showed a genuine smile, not having to worry as much as he does now. Everything was still very happy until one day when all 3 went to play at a shopping mall. Chris was right in the area hit by the bombing. He was taken to the hospital as soon as possible in a critical condition, his entire body covered in wounds. It was the event that day that made Taylor sacrifice himself as a father to save his son. When Chris woke up in the hospital, he saw his father lying unconscious on the floor with 4 cards beside him. Taylor left behind 2 children who had to rely on each other to survive. It was also for this reason that Chris became a fake person. With his handsome appearance and smooth talking, He easily captured the hearts of young women, and a smile was set by default on his Face ID. Chris concealed his true self in this way. The place to return to and the person he wanted to protect took him a very long time to find his true self in Finn. He was still very childish and laughed naively. Chris still remembers everything he and Finn went through during that time. It was also for this reason that he couldn't tell Finn what he wanted to do. Finn had also returned to Pinnaclor, and he was still alive. The truth was that Chris had aimed directly at the card in his pocket when he shot. As soon as Finn woke up, Leo came to grab his shirt and ask about Chris. But he didn't understand what was happening. Leo told him that Chris had taken several cards and disappeared, and had been fired by Theodore and had an arrest warrant issued. It was then that Finn looked at the hole in his shirt with Chris's abilities. If he had wanted to kill him, it wouldn't have been difficult. He must have deliberately aimed at the pocket containing the card. Finn wants to find Chris to clarify everything, but High Card is still on a mission. Besides that, because Finn is close to Chris, the chairman has decided to temporarily confiscate his card, and he has also sent people to investigate Chris's background. On Ban's side, the organization seems to be planning some kind of outrageous conspiracy. He has gathered his subordinates, who are equipped with bulletproof vests and weapons. After a night, Chris has also reached the city. He goes to find Chelsea to retrieve the items he had sent to her earlier. Chelsea knows for sure something is wrong because the police have come to the bar to inquire about his whereabouts. But Chris just claims it's because he's famous, though who would believe that? Chelsea is about to use her old trick again, but Chris plays a rogue move by kissing her to shut her up. The consequence is a slap to his face. Inside the package are 4 cards, a gun, and Chris's identification documents. It's clear he had prepared for this early on. After checking everything, he turns to leave. After just a few steps, he encounters Sugar's police squad. This time, Chris doesn't use the power of his card, but only uses his gun. But in just a moment, the police squad is completely dealt with. Sugar had already pulled Chelsea away and fled long ago. Then Chris quickly drives away. After some time since the incident at Sunfield, Lindsay comes to visit the store where Finn works. He gives Finn a handwritten letter, which generally says it's from someone who donated a large enough sum for Lindsay to rebuild the orphanage for the children. What catches attention is the last line, that it's sent by Finn's mentor. No one understands who this person is except Finn. Lindsay shows him the check. But what Finn cares about is the line below with the sender's name, Chris Redgrave. Mentioning the orphanage makes him blame himself again for his job. He also remembers Lindsay's words and shakes his head in distress when he sees Finn in this state. In reality, he wants Finn to think more openly, not always assuming he only has one family. The children at Sunfield will eventually leave and have another place called a second family. Lindsay is happy to see the children he once raised have now grown up and have a place where they belong. Hearing his teachings, Finn suddenly remembers what Chris once told him. Lindsay tells Finn it's the same, and this can also be his family. These 2 words, family, make Finn remember a few things related to Chris. Piecing it all together, he also knows what Chris is about to do. He rushes to the hospital where Misen is being treated. At this time, Ban's subordinates have infiltrated the foreign palace. Outside, several police officers have been taken down. When Finn reaches the hospital room, he doesn't see anyone anymore, just a piece of paper with a phone number and the line, "Call me." Finn takes out his phone and immediately calls Chris. He has been driving with Misen for some time, and he has prepared for today's event by quietly taking the cards. Actually, on the yacht, Chris had already prepared another fake card in his pocket. The stolen card was also fake, and he kept the real one. Even pushing Finn into the sea and shooting him when he knew too much were all part of Chris's calculations. All for the 4 cards in his hand. Finn reminds him that using 4 cards will lead to something bad. After going to all this trouble, how could Chris not know? He doesn't answer but calmly faces Finn and exchanges a few words. Finn repeats to him what Lindsay had taught him. Just a few brief words make Chris come to his senses, but he still doesn't want to give up the chance to save his sister. Finn is about to run after Chris when a sniper enters the room, aims the scope directly at Chris's head in the car below, and pulls the trigger. Before that, Chris had already self-awakened and used his card again, so his immortality ability had been activated. Even if his skull is shattered several times, he won't die. Another important piece of news is that the sniper came here to inform Finn that by obstructing young Master Theodore's orders, and since this is the second time he has repeated this, he is also fired. Ban's subordinates have attacked the palace. High Card is still there to fight back against them. They still have to fight while very worried about Finn and Chris's situation. But his father has stopped High Card from rushing to help the two of them. They must first deal with the people infiltrating the palace. Finn grabs Owen and questions him. Although he is no longer a member of High Card, he still must stop Chris's foolish action. Just as Finn opens the door, two bodyguards enter and hit him on the head, temporarily knocking him unconscious. On Chris's side, he's still driving to the place he had promised to take Miss N, but halfway there, he encounters police blocking the way. Sugar and Chelsea have stopped their car at the hospital and accidentally meet the two bodyguards carrying the unconscious Finn down. Sugar, using her authority as a police officer, wants to take Finn for investigation on some matters. Initially, the black bodyguard was about to draw his gun, but the one beside him stopped him to talk properly. They also respect the police, so they don't argue to the end. So Finn, at this moment, falls down for Sugar to catch, then quickly runs away, even borrowing her car. He didn't expect Chelsea to be in the car as well, so the two of them go to find Chris. Sugar also takes the bodyguard's car to chase after them. Facing this police squad, Chris also has to get out of the car and present his identification documents for them to check. A police officer has recognized him with his biker jacket as someone who is wanted. At this moment, Ban appears. He uses his power to cut off the piece of land with the police on it. Ban says he likes the way Chris operates, although he doesn't know why Chris is doing this. Currently, he's in a position of opposing the entire world. He doesn't care about the king or the crown, just supporting Ban to do whatever he wants. It should be known that Clon Kid is the adversary of Pinnaclor, so it's unclear why he is helping him now. But he certainly seems to have some purpose. After speaking, he walks away. By the time the police arrive to continue the pursuit, the gap in the road from earlier helps Chris escape successfully. He continues driving with Miss N. He himself doesn't understand why Ban acted that way, but Chris doesn't care. He just wants to be able to save Miss N. At this moment, Finn tells Chelsea about what happened with Chris and his own speculation. Chris may have decided to save Miss N using the 4 cards and his own life. By all means, he must stop this. Miss N also doesn't know where Chris intends to go. She only remembers that he said he had an appointment. These words make Finn recall the day when they all went out together when Miss N wanted to go on the Ferris wheel. She wanted to reminisce about the memory of their father years ago. He had also taken her there, but at that time, Chris didn't allow it. He promised to take her, but not at that time. The two of them are sure that Chris will take Miss N to that Ferris wheel. At this moment, the touchscreen in the car is hacked, and that person is Bernard. He has heard everything and points to Finn's collar to let him know that he secretly placed a recording device in his shirt. The two of them talk for a while, and it becomes known that Finn will disregard the consequences to save Chris, which means he will oppose an entire country, because Pinnaclor takes orders directly from the king. Nevertheless, Finn still wants to do it because he is Chris's friend. When Finn had no one by his side, Chris was the one who came and rescued him. They drive a long way and encounter the dark-lipped woman. She makes the car of the two of them fly to the other side. Fortunately, both are still safe, although slightly injured. She wants to get the 5 of hearts from Chris's hand, so she attacks Finn. Chelsea uses her card to pull Finn away and successfully saves him from the deadly situation. When jumping across the bridge, she is injured due to that woman. To not be a burden to him, Chelsea will stay here and tells Finn to continue pursuing Chris. At Leo's place, the battle is still going on. He uses a specialized device to communicate with Bernard. While fighting, he hears that Finn is chasing Chris, which makes him very happy. Leo quickly tells his father that after finishing things here, he will chase after Chris. But Theodore still says no because he is too close to him. This could be a fatal weakness, and he instructs him to just follow orders. Leo becomes more determined to end the battle here. More than several 4-barreled cannons have wiped out all these people. Leo opens the VIP room door but doesn't see anyone. At this moment, Theodore announces that the mission has been completed. He calls for High Card to quickly assemble, then pursue Chris and Finn. Chris has also brought Miss N to the Ferris wheel, while Finn has to race against time while escaping from the pursuit of this dark-lipped woman. At the most dangerous moment, Wendy's Love Bee appears. A car drives up. It's Bernard, while Love Bee stays behind to block the way with her. The two sides fight without concession, but Love Bee seems to have the upper hand with her crazy personality and the sword technique of a real samurai. Yang is also present, shooting the dark-lipped woman a few times, and firing another shot at Love B to stop her battle-crazed nature. The park area where Chris is has its lights turned on. He has taken Misen up on the Ferris wheel. Chris knows he's selfish, but he will also go to join Taylor. The first thing Misen sees after waking up is the cold corpse of Chris, just as he once was. He activates the 4 cards, and then light shines all over the city. Bernard, still on his way in the car, can also see that light. Finn feels even more urgent. Unfortunately, there's no shortcut to it in the city. Leo and VJ are also in close pursuit. He uses his power in the way of the super rich, using the cash in the truck to create a road in the middle of the city for Finn to shorten the distance to the Ferris wheel. After more than half the way, Leo runs out of money and can't go any further. At this moment, Bernard gives Finn his card and reminds him of the top rule of High Card, which is not to fear meeting God. The car rushes across the river. Finn jumps out of it, conveniently activates his card, and shoots a copper bullet directly at the cards that Chris is activating. The 2 of spades might be ordinary, but Finn's agility and skills are not ordinary at all. This intervention successfully saves both siblings. Chris survives partly due to his immortality and Finn's quick and decisive action. Just this one display successfully saves the entire chessboard that was in a deadlock. Afterward, things began to look up. The coup plot of the Klondike clan was uncovered, and the government lifted martial law. The city also returned to its usual peace. Misen hasn't fully recovered, but her health condition is much better than before. On the side of the Klon kid, there's temporarily no movement. Bernard reports all of this back to Theodore. Chris's punishment is to become Finn's subordinate. Because while he was in the hospital, Finn was rehired as an official employee after no small amount of turbulence, having only been a probationary soldier until then.